out across the field, and we were walking up towards the entrance, this big gate to the camp. And on the top of the gate was a sign, which was on the sign on every camp, which read, Arbeit macht frei, which means work will make you free. And you can figure yourself what that refers to. Across the field and up and into the entrance to the camp, through the gate, was a single line of railroad tracks. It was very tricky walking across that field because we were just sitting targets. We had no idea what would happen. Luckily, we found out later, there was no one in the central post. They'd been cleaned out. When we walked through the gate, we walked into the camp. The first thing you feel when you walk through that gate is like you're walking through a wall, and there's a smell, a stink of death. It's no other way to describe it. Some of the guys were getting nauseous just from the smell. To the left was a line of trees, and to the right was the railroad line running through the camp. In front of us were the barracks. There were people walking, sitting, laying in the middle of the field, in front of the camp, in front of the barracks. And on the train were other people, 2,310 of them. They were all dead. What we were told was that the German SS group, which, by the way, as the SS used this camp for training purposes, the SS group had set up machine guns and machine gunned everybody before we could get in to the camp. 2,310. The one good thing about this whole thing is that we freed 31,432 prisoners that day. 31,432 prisoners. These lives we saved. The SS group was cleaned out fast by the 3rd Infantry when they went through the gate. Some of the guys, and these were guys who had landed in Normandy and went clear across Germany, clear across France and Germany. Some of them were on the ground crying. They were holding their hands to their faces, tears. Some of the people in the camp were trying to come to us, but they couldn't make it. They fell down. They were standing with their striped uniforms, sometimes a shirt missing or what have you, the black and white vertical stripes. Some of them were leaning against the barracks. They didn't have the strength to get up. I went through the area and went up to the first barrack. And I opened the door and looked in. And it was completely dark inside. And light came in from the door. And what I saw was a line of cots, 4 high, right up to the ceiling, right up to the roof of the barrack. And every one of them, by the way, they didn't even have a mattress. All they had was some straw. Every one of them had somebody, an occupant, somebody lying in it. And most of them in that barracks, when I opened the door, nobody could move. Like one prisoner picked up his head. I'll never forget that. He looked up and looked at me, and his face and head was like a skeleton. The skin was pulled back, and he just collapsed after it. He couldn't even hold himself up to look. I knew I couldn't help these people, so I just closed the door and walked away. We sent in whatever we had in the way of food, water, medical people. We had a couple of people from the clergy come in behind us. I didn't even know was there until they came in. And they opened up the barrack where the other clergy was being held prisoner to let them out. I walked in further, and I found an area where you've seen these things as like a swing in a backyard, which has the metal pipe coming up and a triangle and a bar across and then another triangle on the other side. And the swing would hang from the bar. They had the same type of arrangement. They had this triangle and the bar across. But instead of a swing, they had a rope. And what they did is that they would bring a prisoner, tie a rope around his arms, lift him off the ground, and that he would be hanging there. And then they had a bat on the side, but like a baseball bat. But instead of it being round at the end, it was square. So it had 4 faces to it. And they take the bat and give him a couple of whacks, whatever they felt like. And then what happened is after they got tired of doing that, they would take the rope from around his arm and put it around his neck